Then, if you are within the inner cycle, as we call it, so you have fast access to all the data and to all the infrastructure, then, for example, you can use the remote disk. The remote disk is a simple idea. Instead of carrying around CDs and DVDs and disks, you don't need that. You acquire the data and then you get back to your workstation in your university and you just select in the port of the data that you want to have on a remote disk. So the disk will be mounted on your workstation. So the data will be available for you wherever you want. If you want 100 gigabytes, you will provide you 100 gigabytes of data. As you are on a very fast network, you will be almost as the disk was in your computer. So that's the basic idea of this remote disk, and the users are using it already. And I think the experience is a good experience because all the confusion of having the data, having the list of patients, etc. It's easier if you use this approach. Then there is the concept of remote workstation, and basically if I don't have a very fast workstation or if I don't have the licenses to run a specific software, for example, MATLAB, the last version of MATLAB, multi-core one, which is quite useful when you have large computations and you have a multi-core computer, I can use the infrastructure that is available through the Brain Imaging Network grid. So I have virtualized machines that I can push, so I can run them in the computers that are in Aveiro, but from any of the workstations within the Brain Imaging Network. So this means that you can have access to licenses that can cost tens of hundreds of thousands, or depends on what you are using. But for example, MATLAB is a quite expensive license. Also, so from in this case, this is a Linux infrastructure, but you can also use Windows, although we don't have a lot of licenses in Windows because they are also expensive. So we try to push people to use open source. So this is the aspect of MATLAB running in these visualized workstations. And one of the advantages of these workstations is that you are near the data. So the workstations are running in a backbone which is immediately connected to the data with a 10 megabit per second, with a 10 gigabit per second connection. So it means that it's really fast compared to what you have if you were away from another university. And this is a good advantage when you have to do large computations, which is a lot of the times is the case. Also access to other computational tools like Brain Voyager here. So we are sharing the infrastructure with several Brain Voyager licenses. So for example, people from Catholic University in Lisbon, they don't need to buy the licenses. If they are belonging to the Brain Imaging Network, they can use the license that we are making them available remotely. But as the network is fast, it's almost as if they were running on their own computers. We have also a facility which is what we call remote desktop services, which is similar to the remote workstation, but you actually don't need a workstation. You just run specific applications remotely. So you use your own operating system, for example, Windows. Actually, this only works for Windows. But the applications, for example, Brain Voyager will run in a machine from the Brain Imaging Network and will provide you just the viewing window. So it's a different way to do the same thing as we were doing with the workstations. So here are some of the applications that are available. And you can just run remote application, and there it is MATLAB again, but running in this mode of computation. So this can be run in a 8-core machine, but you have a small, very slow machine, no problem. It's only providing you the view. The application is running remotely in a powerful machine. Now, what happens if you are outside of the inner cycle? Okay, so if you are, for example, you're in Porto, you have your computer in your lab, which is the lab doesn't have a connection to the Brain Imaging Network. So, well, you can also have access, or if you are in the internet, so if you are at home, or even if you are in another country. So you can also access this infrastructure, but you have to do it through a firewall, and the connection is slow. So you have to authenticate yourself in the virtual private network of the BIM. And basically you have, of course, to get the authentication. So this is a secure HTTPS channel. So it's a secure channel, so that we try to provide hackers to get into. Now it's a kind of a fashion to hack into websites here in Portugal. So we are trying to push them away using this technology. And this is the same environment, so here is the disk, the remote disk, but using the, you can see the disk of course, but if, for example, you want to upload things, it will take much longer than if you were in a brain imaging network workstation. Teleconference, we are using the teleconference for, for trying to get people, networking people, not networking data, which is also, I think it's more important even than data. So that's basically what we are using, and I will show you just an example of a teleconference between Coimbra, Aveiro and Porto. So here's just a setting. I can put this teleconference system, and here you have Aveiro, Coimbra and Porto. So we are doing a kind of meeting, so just to give you a close view of what happens. I mean, people can really talk, and we can have a 24-day connection because we're not paying more for that. And we have bandwidth for that. So this is one of the ways that we are trying to make people to interact more.